Coming up on this episode of Earth. Want to invest in the clean future of this planet? We'll introduce you to a company with a sustainable and actually profitable way to invest in fighting climate change. We'll meet a motor company dedicated to keeping our wheels turning, even in the midst of a hurricane. We'll see a nutritious way that farmers are using to increase yields while growing crops from the ground up for this Earth's soaring population. And we'll introduce you to a company with the latest technology that is helping solve our food waste problem through innovative packaging. It's all coming up on Earth. I'm John Holden. Welcome to Earth. Hi, I'm John Holden, and welcome to Earth. We're starting off our show here in Annapolis, Maryland. You know, in the investment world, we all want to feel good about what we invest in, so wouldn't it be nice to actually be able to invest in this good Earth and its future? Well, sustainable investing is not only possible, but it can be profitable as we all search for solutions to climate change, as you're about to see. Climate change is an issue affecting all of us today. Billions of dollars is being spent on clean energy projects to combat emissions, with trillions planned in the decades to come, both to reduce emissions and create climate-resilient infrastructure for extreme weather events that are increasing in number and strength. For the average investor and the Earth itself, there's definite growth in going green.
There's a huge opportunity, a market opportunity. $100 billion is being invested now in the United States on clean energy and energy efficiency. That is going to go up tenfold over the course of the next decade or so, according to the analysts. So it's going to be a $100 trillion market. So there's big money to be made, and while these companies are making money and investors are making money, they're also going to be helping to save the planet.
No one could be more concerned with the effects of climate change on our environment than environmentalist and financier Jeff Eckel. He has built a successful business that invests in companies and technologies that mitigate climate change by reducing greenhouse gases and allowing facilities and energy consumers to adapt to climate change.
I've been studying U.S. energy policy for almost 40 years, and it's time we did the one thing we've never done: put a price on carbon. That will be the biggest climate change solution that we can imagine.
Jeff Eckel is able to oversee this investment opportunity because he's the chairman, president, and CEO of Hannon Armstrong, a premier capital provider for climate solutions in America, investing over $1 billion a year in sustainable infrastructure. Hannon Armstrong has the unique distinction of being the first U.S. public company exclusively focused on financing solutions to climate change.
Our mission is to be the premier investor in climate change solutions, and everybody is very conversant in the economics of carbon, and that makes our investment thesis come alive. We have very serious people here, very serious investment professionals, but with a higher purpose as well. They're here to make a difference. They can work a lot of different places. A lot of young people seek us out as this is where I want to work. This is the kind of enterprise that will bring value to the world down the road.
Hannon Armstrong uses its investment capital to fund a variety of national projects affected by climate change, including infrastructure and water system restoration projects to make our communities more resilient to extreme weather.
The impacts of climate change are here today in the Mid-Atlantic. We see more frequent, more severe storms, and that has an impact on our bay. And the Chesapeake Bay is very important to the Mid-Atlantic region, and stream restoration projects prevent nutrients like nitrogen and phosphorus from flowing into the bay.
So Jeff, what's been created here?
So what's been created is a repaired stream that slows the velocity of the water coming down, particularly in severe weather events. And what that does is prevent phosphorus and nitrogen from going unimpeded into the Chesapeake Bay. And it's a series of these natural dams that slow the water down, allow a wetland to be created and act as a sponge when the waterway is overloaded. And we just heard a frog back there. That frog probably hadn't been there because this wetlands has just been created in the last few weeks.
Hannon also invests in sustainable energy projects to make buildings more energy efficient, and wind and solar projects to power American homes and businesses free from carbon emissions.
The sustainable industry has been very successful in dramatically reducing the cost of the technology and will continue to do so, achieving parity with fossil fuels and even providing lower energy costs. But what's important to remember is that the fuel is free, the wind, the sun, but the cost of capital to install these projects requires access and competitive capital.
For instance, an increasing number of companies have committed to 100% renewable electricity for the delivery of clean energy. Companies like Target, on which we're standing on their roof right now.
This is a typical investment. Hannon Armstrong made a $50 million investment in a distributed energy portfolio, which included 200 different projects similar to this for commercial and industrial clients.
If people see Hannon Armstrong as a company that responsibly invested capital at scale and produced a great environmental benefit and produced fantastic returns for its investors, that would be an outstanding legacy.
And when it comes to investing on this good earth, it's really the best of both worlds. And you don't have to sacrifice returns in order to invest on the right side of climate change. Our next stop, Menasha, Wisconsin, the hub of America's paper and packaging industry. You know, our world is growing at a frenetic pace. 10 billion people by the year 2050. And that's going to require a lot of food production to feed that many people. But today, food waste is a huge problem, and it requires innovative ways to package that food to protect its integrity, as you're about to see.
Flexible packaging is important for the consumer because what it does is it actually extends the shelf life.
If you look at the supply chain of producing food for human, 90% of the carbon footprint on the planet is actually producing the food itself. Protecting the food, plastic or metal or glass, is actually 10% of the carbon footprint. So what we need to do with our 10% is to make it recyclable and recycled so that plastic never end up as waste.
And packaging is what TC Transcontinental is all about for its global consumers. With 40 years of innovative history and entrepreneurial spirit in packaging technology to not only protect the product, but also inspire the consumer to sustain the earth.
We need to blend art, science, and technology to create a package that accentuates the brands, protect the product, sustain the environment, and inspire the consumer as well. So that's our journey, that's our mission in flexible packaging.
So Francois, how important is preserving history while at the same time the innovation going on here?
Well, it's important. This building is almost 100 years old, and there's a lot of new stuff happening inside, but you can learn a lot from your past, from tradition, and it could help you move forward, you know, in a sense, learning from your history.
Actually, the biggest challenge is to make sure that plastics never becomes waste. We want to be part of the solution. We want to design and produce flexible packaging that is recyclable, and typically that contains a certain amount of recycled content. In March 2019, TC Transcontinental has signed and was the first Canadian-based manufacturer to sign the Ellen MacArthur Foundation Circular Economy Global Commitment, and this fits perfectly with our strategy. TC Transcontinental has committed to 100% of our packaging to be recyclable, compostable, and recycled by 2025. This is an ambitious commitment. We're very serious about it, and our operations, our R&D teams are fully committed to make it happen.
And flexible packaging like this is a game changer in the packaging industry. The innovation all takes place here in the R&D labs of Transcontinental.
Well, all this research really is intended to create the optimal package. And optimized used to mean, I think, just performance and cost. And now it's certainly performance, cost, and sustainable. If you walk through the lab, what you'd find is microscopes where we could look at cross sections of packaging films. We can make out the different polymer characteristics on other equipment, say other stations in the lab where we could say, is this polyethylene, is this polypropylene? And we could test performance tests, say heat sealability, which is critical for forming a package. We could look at barrier properties, which is critical for shelf life. So all of it ties back to some kind of functionality that we can replicate here in the lab.
The lab tests even include environmental heat and humidity testing in storage rooms with temperatures set to replicate tropical or even a desert location.
The first chamber is a tropic chamber, which is temperature and humidity controlled, and typically that's run at 100 degrees Fahrenheit and 90 degrees humidity. It's very large, so we can actually put in whole pallets to test at condition. So we can do vibration testing, compression testing, as well as storage life, accelerated aging. And finally, we have another chamber, environmental chamber, same size. We call it the desert room at high temperature, 140F. And the 140 is basically for accelerated conditions so that we can calculate accelerated aging studies. But in essence, it's like looking at a semi-truck trailer in the desert in the middle of summer.
The current lab that we're in is our packaging applications lab. We actually do a lot of innovation up front before we take that package to our customers to make sure it runs and performs on their equipment effectively. It also allows us to create many different layers that will give different performances for those packages so that they can have different characteristics to be able to protect the product inside. The end goal is something that protects the product, reduces food waste, and stands out on shelf.
This is one of our latest innovations. What's really important about this package is this happens to be a piece of meat with bones in it. Bones are very abrasive to packaging, and in this case we must protect against any punctures that would happen either during packing of the meat or distribution or retail display. So it's very critical that we have a very tough package that also provides good shelf life with respect to keeping the meat fresh.
I think the end result is that we can educate the consumer so that they can understand the value of the flexible package, but at the same time make sure that the package is actually recycled and that it doesn't go into the oceans or to our landfill. So it's really that communication and the innovation around making sure that that doesn't happen.
It's all about continuing a legacy of sustainable packaging for our food supply, from the very source of our food products to its end of life. You know, emergencies on this earth come in every shape and size, from tornadoes, floods, wildfires, and yes, hurricanes. But no matter where the national emergency is happening, there's a special team from this city that's able to come to the rescue, as you're about to see. Since the 1900s, the Motor City has been keeping America running. And now one company in the city is working to keep those wheels turning, even during devastating natural disasters, whether it's data centers, telecommunications, financial institutions, or hospitals. Mission-critical agencies rely on critical fuel supply to keep their operations running throughout natural disasters.
We want folks to know that Atlas Oil Company is a company that when people are running away from a fire or they're running away from a disaster, we're the people that are running into it to support all the infrastructure that's necessary.
In an emergency situation, you need to get fuel in quickly for basic life support, and it needs to be done quickly, safely, and to the recipient so they can get up and do what they have to protect their resources, and it's a necessity.
Paul Bernard is the Emergency Operations Manager for Atlas Oil and a U.S. Air Force veteran who worked more than a decade managing fuel facilities in Afghanistan and Iraq. When Hurricanes Florence and Michael wreaked havoc in the southeastern states in 2018, and 2019's devastating Hurricane Dorian targeted the Bahamas and the East Coast, Paul and Atlas's Emergency Fueling Division jumped into action, bringing dedicated supplies into areas facing major supply and logistical disruptions. During this time, Atlas was even recognized by the United States Postal Service for its outstanding work.
These clients lose money by the second. It's within their best interest to have them temporary power, and that's what we do. We respond quickly until they get main utility backup to provide life, health, and safety to local units.
Emergency service like this is only one facet of what the Atlas Oil Emergency Fueling Division offers mission-critical clients throughout the country.
With its nationwide fleet of emergency vehicles and emergency teams on standby 24 hours a day, 365 days a year, the Atlas team is always on high alert and standby, ready to help communities withstand the storm.
We take a unique approach to equipment when it comes to emergency services. So we've got specialty trucks that we call stormproof trucks, which are smaller, versatile units that can get through high water or smaller spaces, all the way up to your tank wagon, which is your Class B truck, all the way up to a truck the size that you see like here behind me, that's got a sleeper cab and somebody that can be out in the marketplace for days on end living in that particular unit itself. We've also got a fuel automation station that we can drop in at a location that might have multiple vehicles that allows us to fuel 28 pieces of equipment simultaneously and actually grab all that information, pump it to the cloud, give our customers real-time insight to what's happening on location. So from an equipment perspective, we're very innovative. We look at what's the problem and we try to design a solution that nails that problem to the wall.
Today, the concept of a command center in a trailer is outdated, replaced by a command center in the cloud, providing real-time tracking and communication with the drivers.
Here we're operating 24/7, 365, and what you'll see is we're monitoring weather patterns, we're taking customer orders, we're track and tracing our drivers and our equipment, we're working with our carrier partners.
Atlas has spent millions on innovations that are changing the way truckers, drivers, and fuel get distributed to customers when disaster strikes.
In a metropolitan area with 4.5 million people, Children's Hospital Michigan serves as the Level 1 Pediatric and Burn Trauma Center. We are one of the busiest emergency departments throughout the entire country, and which means we serve the most critically ill children. And because of that, we must maintain our seamless operation of the hospital 24/7, and the backup generator and the fuel systems, those are the backbones to the entire process.
You know, these are very important places that need the fuel, and it's not just a necessity. It's it's a matter of life and death in most cases, and that's what really makes it hit home. Because this could be any one of our family members that are being affected by it.
We always find a way to innovate. So this is what we do every day, and find we go through a whiteboard. How do we help the customers? How do we help our partners? How do we help to make sure our team has the right tools? So we always finds a way. We go after it and find a way to help them out.
The key to success is having that information. First of all, we need to know where the needs are. We have the assets available, and if we don't, we collaborate with others to come up with those solutions so that when there is chaos, we can come up with the information, we can come up with the solution, and we can deliver it clearly.
Since our emergency fueling division was founded in 2010, we've never had a customer run out of fuel, even in the worst natural disasters. 100% uptime for 100% of our customers. Our vision for the future and our commitment to our customers is to be the best emergency fueling company on the planet.
Emergencies and natural disasters can happen anytime on this good earth. It requires a special DNA of mankind to charge toward the storm under any circumstance. Our next stop, Calgary in Alberta, Canada. This is an area known for being one of the most important agricultural areas in the world for, well, feeding this world. But as our population grows from 7.5 billion to what's expected to be 10 billion by the year 2050, farmers are continuously being challenged to grow bigger and healthier harvests every year. And how do you do that on a global basis? Well, there's help out there from the ground up, as you're about to see. Growing crops as a food source has been around since civilization began. But as our world population skyrockets, it's going to mean constant innovation in how to grow our crops, to enhance yield, and to minimize the impact on our environment.
If we consider the amount of yield that we're producing today, 30 years from now, in order to feed the global population, we're going to have to grow 50% more food on every acre of land every year. That's a significant increase from where we are today. And farmers are going to have to do that on the same land base or less, using resources more efficiently to have a lower environmental footprint and grow food sustainably for the future.
Nutrien has over 3,500 agronomists around the globe who work directly with farmers to help deliver the optimal seed, crop protection, and crop nutrient products to grow healthy crops, as well as educate growers on the latest technology and innovation to improve crop yields.
A crop has a very specific need for nutrients. Nutrients are going to help them produce amino acids and proteins. That's the role of nitrogen in the crop. Potassium has a different role. It regulates water functions within the crop. And a plant needs the right balance of those nutrients, including micronutrients like copper, zinc, iron. You could think of those as the vitamins that we take every day in order to make the plants healthy.
As the largest producer of crop nutrients in the world, with over 27 million tons of annual sales, Nutrien produces the needed crop nutrients from its facilities in Canada, the United States, and Trinidad, with fertilizer estimated to be responsible for nearly 50% of global crop yields. Nutrien's fertilizer products now help feed over 200 million people each year.
Nutrien is an agricultural company. It's a company that is built to help farmers grow food. We work shoulder to shoulder with farmers around the world, and we provide the products and the services and more now full package solutions to help them grow nutritious, sustainable, and of course healthy food.
That includes hundreds of Nutrien facilities across the United States and Canada, each one containing massive tanks like this, each one containing nutrients needed for growing a healthy crop.
These big tall tanks each hold a different fertilizer nutrient. Some of them are holding our ESN, our slow release, some hold ammonium sulfate, some nitrogen, some phosphorus. And we're going to make a prescription blend for the farmer that meets the soil's needs in terms of what nutrient that soil is lacking for the type of crop that that farmer wants to grow.
Nutrien operates over 1,700 ag retail facilities in North America, Australia, and South America, supplying innovative products and services to more than 500,000 growers worldwide.
Certainly, if you look at what's happened over the last 25 years, there's been massive investment by companies like Nutrien into really understanding exactly what the crop needs and be able to provide just what the crop needs and nothing more. So we've got a great track record as an industry and as a company of really having to grow more crops with less land, less water. And that's all because of the technology that has been invested by companies like Nutrien and others to ensure that we understand just what the crop needs when it needs it.
Farmers not only use the seed, crop nutrients, and crop protection products supplied by Nutrien, but also the latest digital tools and precision technology for maximizing yield and improving crop quality.
This fertilizer applicator is pretty much GPS controlled. This monitor here, it monitors the position of the machine in real time as we're going across the field. Auto steer basically controls the line of travels to a much more precise than I could manually. We have the technology now to focus inputs more intensively on the better producing areas of the fields. We're able to monitor with the harvesting technology the yield changes and monitor the decision making we're doing. With satellite imagery, we're capable of almost monitoring things in real time, the health of the crop.
The digital tools really help farmers see what the impact is of the products that they've been using and how that affects their yield as well as the environmental footprint.
You know, wherever crops are growing, our Earth's nutrients are at work too, supplying nutritious food for a growing population. It's all about working together to grow this world from the ground up. I'm John Holden. Thanks for watching.